Hey guys, today I am starting with a sketch and showing you a fun and super easy way to add more photos to your layout, as well as add that little interactive element to your scrapbook pages. Now, this is part of the Creative Design Team collab, where we show you each month a new thing. Today, we are featuring our brand new sketchbook. It has 12 by 12 sketches. You can find a link to order that book in the description below. So I am starting off with this 5 by 7 photo of me and my husband from back in 2015. I've decided to pull out the gnomes for spring. Here's a look at that sticker sheet. I'm going to run through the pattern papers right quick. I'm loving this circle pattern, and on the back side is this lined or these stripes. And then this cloud pattern is probably one of my all-time favorites. And the back side of that is a real nice gingham, predominantly that honey butter. And then you've got the hero paper or the icon. Now this is the only piece that has the gnomes on it. Otherwise it's pretty much spring. And then I've also got the cardstock, and then of course that sketchbook I was telling you about with 12 by 12 sketches. Each sketch also has all the measurements that you need. Super simple to follow. Like I said, it's been a while since I've been in my craft room, kind of been sick. I've also pulled out the flower to that little gnome girl, and then the Sweet Memories stamp set. Now I am going to go ahead and gut these cardstocks for a couple of reasons. If you're new here, I like to gut my cardstock, especially the pieces that aren't going to show. It cuts down on bulk. But the larger pieces actually allow me to use some of those middle pieces that are cut out for photo mats. Now for this little word part, I just used my photo as kind of like a guide, and I really only need about a 3-inch square. And so I've cut that from the center, and then I'm going to do the same with this flamingo cardstock as well. And I am just cutting an inch around each side using my rail cutter to get that done. Now this little thin cut comes from the Sweet Memories, like I said, and I am just going to run these through, making sure that those words are actually where I want them. This sketch calls for some diagonal squares, so I'm just kind of running those through and making sure that if I'm using the pattern paper, I'll use the clouds here in just a second, making sure that once that's actually put on the diagonal, it all works out. So I like to cut 2 at a time. Might as well. I'm feeding it through my die cut machine anyway. So I'm going to go ahead and finish off those last 2 die cuts and get those set aside, and then my die cut machine put up for now. I'm going to use the backside of my Versamat because I'm going to be stamping quite a few images. So I have those triangles, and then I have one of the cameras, and then I'm going to go ahead and stamp 2 of the tickets. Now again, this is from the card making, I believe. Let me check on that. From the Sweet Memories. Yes, the Sweet Memories card making stamp set. It comes with just a lot of really good general shapes. So you can see here I'm kind of using that square on the diagonal. Now there are some words or numbers, but I'll end up hiding those with other images. I am using charcoal ink. So when you've got a whole lot of pastels, or in this case, these springy colors, sometimes using black ink is just a little bit too stark. So if you'll use a gray, charcoal is a really good gray. It gives you that punch, but not just like bam, right in your face. So I am actually using my rub and remove eraser and my fingers to kind of remove that coating. This is the first time I've used the stamp set. So that rub and remove eraser will remove the coating off of that stamp set. So you'll get a really good crisp image when you ink that down. So I am done with those. Now I have pulled out the Gnomes for Spring stamp set. That's going to be over to the right just in case I decide to use it here in just a second. I'm going to put my white daisy, this is going to be the base of my layout, onto my Versamat, and that's going to make it really easy for me to line up these pieces that go onto the layout. Now this sketch called for several of these little triangles. But I didn't want to just regurgitate spring onto this layout, if you will. So I have drastically reduced the number of squares or the diagonals, and I think it really looks good in the end. So I'm going to remove the backing to this 3D foam tape for my photo and go ahead and get it adhered down into the middle. I'm also going to take a look at the sticker sheet, kind of decide where or what I want my title to be. I love that sticker, but that's not going to be it. And then I am going to pull off some of the other stickers and go ahead and get those attached to my anti-static pouch so I can use those later. So I'm pretty much at a standstill on this left layout. So I'm going to pull out my right layout, and that's going to allow me to go ahead and get the meat and potatoes done of this layout, and then I can embellish both layouts at once. You guys who follow me here a lot know that I like to do that. It makes the layout seem cohesive when you do that. And so that is basically what I'm doing on this right layout. Now I already have those stamped squares, or I guess diamonds, but I wanted to add one of the stamped images from the Gnomes for Spring. And so this one says, love this story, I believe. No. This one says the story of today. And again, I've inked that up in that charcoal ink. And then I am going to go ahead and adhere down these squares. Now I've trimmed my photos down just a little bit. So you'll see 1/8 of an inch all the way around these photos. And that way I'm able to use the layout base for my mats. Now here is where I'm going to start peeling off some of those stickers using my anti-static pouch to remove the sticky from the back. And then that's going to allow me to use 3D foam tape on some of those stickers. Now I'm using, or I'm peeling just away the ones that I think that I'll use in the end. I may not use them all, but it's better to be safe than sorry. And I love the sticker sheet because it's got large icons. It's got the kind of subtitles or the word sentiments. And then it's also got just some small little icons that can be used. Now I love this sticker, this round sticker. Since I have so many of those squares on the diagonal, I think that the circle actually adds a little softness to that. A lot of times when you have repetitive shapes, if you'll add another shape that is not the same shape, then it just kind of adds an interest to the layout. Now these little flowers are from that thin cut, from that cute little gnome, and those just get layered on top of the greenery. Now I did use honey butter, flamingo, and glacier. I also cut some of the dark side of honey butter as well as the light, and then the same with flamingo and glacier. I've got some dark and some light in there, as well as those leaves cut from the jade. And I just love that little gnome. Even though I did not use her, I was able to use the flowers, and then those little diagonals up at the top right by my static pouch, those are actually her collar. And so I've cut those and I'll use those here and there. I even use one off camera. So you'll have to make sure you stick around and see where I used the other one. Now this is a honey butter shimmer brush. I am wanting to add that to the tag. So I'm just squeezing that. I just know that I am just going to squeeze that and it's just going to come off everywhere. So I'm kind of being delicate. And then I finally work it out, and I am just going to apply some of that honey butter shimmer brush to that tag. Now remember, this little ticket is from the Sweet Memories card making stamp set. And I'm going to just put that up kind of in that blank space of that middle photo. And then there are a couple of stickers I'm going to add with some 3D foam tape as well as just some liquid adhesive. Now this little sentiment sticker, it says enjoy the little things, and I love that it is that that green, that jade color, so it's going to pick up the jade from those floral pieces. And then there is a little circle heart that I'm going to add some liquid adhesive to the bottom of that and get that adhered down as well. And so I kind of like all three of those colors in that little cluster. Now this is that little collar of hers. And I've added it behind that circle up at the top, and I'll add it at the bottom here in just a second as well. Now these dots are actually some of the new product that will debut March 1st. And even though these little floral pieces, these little flowers, do a little score mark when you run them through your die cut machine, I wanted them to pop a little bit more. And so that's why I pulled out those dots. And here is where that other little scallop or that collar from that little gnome is going to go. And then I also am going to use that honey butter brush over here on some scratch paper. I'm going to let that dry, and then I'm going to show you something neat to do with that. So for my title, I'm actually going to spell out Kima. I'm using our irresistible letters, our alphabet. If you are watching this before the end of the day on Monday, February 19th, these letters are actually part of our President's Day sale. So you'll want to click on the description below, expand that description, and you'll find a link to these irresistibles. So what happens is you add ink over the top. These are the polka dot ones. There's also a sheet that comes with these that are diagonal stripe. And then you just add ink over the top, and then you can see that pattern pop. I am using the charcoal ink, of course. Again, because this is going to go on that left side, and it needs to anchor that stamp, the story of today that I inked up in charcoal. And so I'm going to finish that off, remove those Post-it notes, and then I am going to go ahead and ink up this little butterfly from the Gnomes for Spring and just stamp directly over that honey butter shimmer brush. And then I'm just going to fussy cut these out. Now I do have a thin cut that comes with this, but it's just sometimes it's just easier just to fussy cut them. And I'm loving just how organic that color is, being that I did the shimmer brush first and then I stamped over it with that image. So I'm going to use my Versamat and my T-ruler to line up my title. Like I said, it's going to say Kima. I want to keep the oils from my fingers off the back of these stickers as much as possible, and so that's why I'm using my tweezers. I'm also not really pushing down on these letters because I want to make sure, even though I have my T-ruler out, sometimes you need to reposition them. So I am going to just barely put those on, take a look at it, and then I can really make sure that they are adhered down. So I'm just making sure that those are really adhered down. And then we have some tickets from our Ferris wheel ride. So I have just added some 3D foam tape, going to tuck that in behind that top left of that photo. I actually love the look at those, or the look of those. I think it brings out the honey butter. And then even though it has more of a bluebird blue in there, I think it really goes well with this color scheme. Now these are the butterflies. I have adhered the wings down with 3D foam tape, and then I am trying to find something to go up near that little file tab. I end up going with one of the stickers that I put on the anti-static pouch, so I'm just going to add some stickiness back with that. And then I'm going to work on the cluster for the bottom right. So I have the camera from the Sweet Memories card making, and then a sticker that says sweet. So I'm going to add 3D foam tape to my layout base, get that adhered down. And then I am going to stack some of these little flower pieces from that little thin cut gnome. And so I've got the flamingo, the honey butter, and the glacier. And then again, using those dots from one of the new collections, March 1st, I'm going to add just dots all around those little clusters, as well as up near that little butterfly at the top left. And then I am going to bring out that right layout and add those butterflies. Again, if you'll put 3D foam tape on the wings and then actually adhere the center down to your layout base or your card, it just adds so much dimension. And then you can just do that just by folding up those wings ever so slightly and making sure that those centerpiece is adhered before you adhere the 3D foam tape. Now, I kind of took a step back, and this layout definitely needed something, especially on that left side. It was just way too much white. So I am actually going to add some little zip strip behind these little pieces that I am cutting. Now, even though the left is the only one that needs it, you need to do something on the right as well, again, to make the two layouts look cohesive. So I just tear those, and then I'm just going to kind of freehand measure that zip strip. That zip strip actually is kind of a limeade color, and I'm going to apply some liquid adhesive around those little tear marks. Now, these zip strips measure 1/2 inch wide, so I just wanted to make sure my tear marks don't go past 1/2 inch. And then I cut my pieces long enough that I'll have something to actually adhere to the sides. I'm going to do the same with this right layout, and that one's barely going to peek through, but you definitely can see it. I also decided to use my gray La pen just to kind of add some doodle dots. You guys know I love to add doodle dots. You'll see in the close-ups just how much what a difference those little doodle dots make. So I'm going to do that on the left layout as well as the right layout, mainly around the clusters and then those paper tears. And then I am going to bring out the interactive piece for this. Now, we had tons of photos from this little outing, and the best way to add photos without making it, a 4-page layout, really, even though this was a date, it doesn't need to be a 4-page layout. So I am just using some of our memory protectors and adding some of those 4x6s in there, and it's going to add an interactive element as well. I did leave quite a few still shots of this layout as well as the embellishment clusters if you want to take a look. Also, remember that you can expand the description down below to visit all of the product links for everything that I used, as well as the CDT playlist for this month's collab and all of 2024 videos so far. I am the last one to play along with this sketchbook. And then you can also find a link to the sketchbook. This is our brand new 12x12 sketchbook where you have 42 sketches. As always, thank you so much for stopping by and watching. If you aren't already a subscriber, hit that subscribe button and sign up for notifications so you'll be alerted the next time I post a crafty video. Thanks, and you guys have a wonderful week.